Dunkirk is the last movie in our Nolan film list before Tenet comes out. Now this is an incredible war movie. It goes up there with some of the best. And to start with, the cinematography is the best we've seen. You know, the beach, the ocean, the sky, like all the scenes taking place in these different sort of bits is just unreal. And from the very start, this film gives you no time to settle, and it shows that life and death is literally just a matter of centimetres. You know, you've got a squad at the beginning and everyone is just wiped out by one person. And it just shows you how fine the margins are, the lines, and you know, you never see the enemy. And that's one of the best things about this film, it's the realism of it. When I was looking at the Batman trilogy, you see how real Nolan wanted to make those films, how grounded he wanted to make them. So when he's making a movie on a real World War II event, the realness and grittiness of it is exceptional. Now the plot of this film sort of follows three different perspectives. You've got, as I said, when regarding the cinematography, you've got stuff involving the beach, the air, the ocean, and that sort of give three stories. You people on the beach end up, on the water and vice versa, and people pass each other, and it's just so very well put together. And for each of these characters, their stories start at different times. You sort of get a little notification about that, during the start of the movie, about the time differences between them, and you see as they progress, as they get sort of closer together. And this is really effective because you actually get to see different perspectives of the same event. For example, there's a scene involving a boat that gets bombed by an enemy plane, and you see that from one perspective, such as the people on the boat, and then you see it from the perspective of the pilot who's trying to shoot the bomber, and then you see it from the perspective of a boat passing by. And it's cool because you get to see like all these different versions of the same event taking place. And when you're watching, you get that moment of, oh yo, that just happened, that's cool, we're seeing it again. So it's really cool to see that. The fact that it was changing perspective a lot did initially have me a bit worried. I thought it may weaken the effectiveness of each story and possibly affect me in the sense that I wouldn't care for the characters as much because I wasn't getting as invested with them because we were switching around so much. But that was just me being naive and judging the movie way too early, because as it progresses, you care for these characters more and more, and as it weaves together and you see how it's all linked as one, you just enjoy everything so much more. And it's actually such a great way of structuring this movie. As with previous Nolan films, we've seen that he likes to be complicated with the way the movie's structured in terms of time cuts going back and forth, different perspective, all this stuff. And it works so well here. And I think it's actually his best work in terms of the structure of a movie. And it's some of the best I've ever seen, honestly. It's really, really well done. Nothing's done out of place. Nothing feels confusing. It's just on the mark, on the mark, on the mark. It's just nailing it every time. And I think Dunkirk sort of epitomises why Nolan's one of the best in filmmaking, because his ability to structure a film is second to none. And he's arguably the best at it. Dunkirk has some really gut-wrenching moments in the film as well, and the tension feels extremely high. When an enemy bomber is approaching and you hear the sound of it echoing across the sky, the beach, the ocean, and then you see the looks on the soldiers' faces as they drop, because they know what's coming and all they can do is just drop to the floor and pray, which is what it would have been like, because in that situation you're just stuck. You can't do anything. You just have to hope that you're going to make it through. And early on you get this really dope looking scene where one of our main characters sort of drops to the floor because an enemy bomber is coming, and the camera just stays fixed on him as he's lying down, and in the distance you just see these bombs dropping and dropping and dropping, getting closer to him, and fellow soldiers just getting blown away, but it stops right before it gets to him. And you're just like, wow. And that looked absolutely stunning. And on the flip side to all this chaos and tension, you get some really great moments. For example, civilian boats will be coming in to help pick up soldiers that are on the beach and rescue them. And the soldiers will applaud, and it's just like really touching stuff. And you also get a scene involving a pilot who takes down an enemy bomber before it can do damage to the soldiers that are on the beach, and all the soldiers are cheering him from, the ground, and, the pilot sees it, and it's just stuff like that. It hits you emotionally, honestly. It's nice to see that. It's beautiful stuff. This film doesn't try to Hollywoodize anything. It's keeping it strictly real. It just shows a raw, real, terrifying time that these soldiers would have gone through at Dunkirk. As I've said with every Nolan film, the cast are excellent. There's not really any main characters in this. You've just got a lot of sort of sub-characters, but that works well. And like I said, the fact that it's like woven together so well, it's probably the best way for this movie to tell, rather than it following one specific person, because this story isn't about one person, it's about all these people on this beach just trying to get home. I mean, you do get some certain stars appearing in this film from previous Nolan movies, such as Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy. They're really, really good in this. And big credit to Tom Hardy, because majority of the film he has a mask on because he's playing a pilot, and the emotion that he like elicits just through his eyes, you know, like the facial expressions, the frowns, all this sort of thing. You really actually get all of his emotion through that, which is a hard thing to do. So, you know, big fair play to him there. And, you know, shout out to Harry Styles is in this movie. I mean, that was a bit of an odd one we heard about, like, oh, Harry Styles is going to be in Dunkirk. And was just like, oh, okay. But he's actually good. He does a good job. I'm guessing this is his first acting gig. I'm not aware of him doing anything else, but he's good. I guess performers and stuff, artists, you know, when they're talented like that, they can branch out and do other things. And he was good in this film. And before I close this off, we just got to say, Hans Zimmer, another brilliant score. It was very fast paced, and it's almost like they incorporated noises associated with the rest of the film, such as the droning noise of like a bomber approaching. It felt like that was almost in the score, and that raised the stakes, that added to the tension. I mean, I don't really know much about music or composing like at all, but it was certainly right for this film. The way it was done, it was like spot on accurate for what this film needed in terms of the score. And this for me is another 10 out of 10 from Nolan. It's just, there's no flaws in this movie for me. It's just such a well done war film, and I don't think he could have done it any better, and it tells such a great story here. And with a war film, you want to show how horrifying and terrifying it was, because, you know, that was it must have been such a scary time for people living through that and people involved in it. And Dunkirk certainly does that. It brings all that into the movie, but also tells like a touching story, and it's just like an emotionally satisfying movie. And it definitely joins the list of the best war films ever made. There's no doubt about it. It's really well done. It's a masterpiece from Nolan for me. Okay, so up next is what we've actually been waiting for, Tenet. So look forward to that. I'm so excited to see it, and I can't wait to review it.